Good morning. So, I am coming to you today because, again, I was given another wonderful stamp of diagnosis and another change came up. So, when you are going to doctor to doctor to doctor, or maybe you have gone to a bunch of doctors and you don't get a stamp of a diagnosis, but they give you a freaking list of restrictions. Restrictions on what you can do in your life, things like exercise, food, relationships, whatever it is. They now don't have a diagnosis for you, but they're still going to restrict your life. Or maybe they've given you a diagnosis, but they've also given you, here's the solution, restriction, restriction, restriction. Why is it that we never get a list of the things we can have, the things we can do, the modifications we can make so that we can actually live our life with these chronic illnesses? I don't know if you noticed, I'm coming to you today with a little less energy. And that's because that's the reality of having a chronic illness. I can't tell you that I can fix it all, but I can help you have more good days than I can tell you that you are having bad days right now. Why can I say this with certainty? Because my life used to be 80 to 90% bad days. Those were the days that getting out of bed was the biggest chore. Those were the days where it was like, somebody come get me and drive my butt to the ER because I'm dying. Those were the days that I walked into the ER and instead of being able to go up to the desk, hand them my card, hand them my ID, they were like, hey Jennifer, let me buzz you back, skip triage, go to bed 10. And I was familiar with enough people that we could walk through those doors and I could go to the bed, skip triage, and start looking, like if things were in the room, I knew the different things. I could set up the O2 thing and put that on my finger, like it was just, I could walk down the hall, the ER techs, the nurses, the doctors were like, hey Jennifer, what bed are you going to? Things like that. And that was a horrible life. And not only was that a horrible thing for me, I can only imagine what it was like for my mom because this started when I was around 13 years old. So there is a way to switch that, to flip that switch so that you aren't spending 80% of your days feeling like crap and like your life is over and like, why did I wake up this morning? Why am I doing this? Why am I even existing? Because it's really easy when you get to that point where all the doctors are telling you is, hey, here's a list of restrictions. You can't have this and food anymore. You can't do these activities anymore. It's really easy to flip into this, why me? Why am I stuck with this? Why do I feel like crap? Why can't I have everything that I want? Why can't I do these things? But here's the trick. Something that I learned at a very young age when it became obvious to me that this was my life right now. Like I had to deal with this, but I could still live my life. So while I was sitting there, most of the time it was for severe asthma because I didn't take care of it when it first started, so on and so on. I was the cool kid. I didn't need to go to the hospital. I didn't need to take my inhaler. I should have. But because I had gotten there, I realized that little O2 thing that was sitting on my finger, if I went like this, the screen behind me would dance. So that became fun for me. So I started shifting my focus on this. I can't breathe. My body hurts. My chest feels like an elephant sitting on it. What the heck am I doing back in the ER? This is stupid. Life sucks. Why am I bothering? They're taking away more foods from me because they think it's food related. Blah, 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 blah. But instead of focusing on all of that, I'm focusing on this little thing on my finger that's making my monitor behind me dance. So at a young age, I realized there was ways to deal with things so that you don't get too sucked in and absorbed in these situations. Am I saying that it was always perfect? No. I probably by early 20s, I slipped into a pretty bad, depressive stage in my life where I became my illnesses. I became my sicknesses. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of people that didn't want to hang out with me because all of a sudden I went from this bubbly, outgoing personality, one that faced life head on and was like, I don't care that I'm sick. I don't care that you can grab my shoulder and it can dislocate and I just wiggle it around like, ha, I'm grossing you out. To this, I am my sickness. I can't go out. I can't do anything. I can't have any food. They're only allowing me to eat like 10 different things. And yes, for a few months, I was only allowed to eat 10 things. And that included seasoning. Salt was one of the 10 things that I was allowed to put into my body for a few months. Ridiculous? Yes. But did it help? I don't know. It did not help with my mindset at the time. But looking back, I can see how different things can change. So when you get so many lists of restrictions, all of a sudden you're only able to eat 10 different items, including salt. Like as soon as you get to that point where it's restriction after restriction after restriction, you start to think like, what am I doing? I'm just surviving my life. So the shift is, instead of looking at it like, hey, I can only have these 10 things, like switch that over to, hey, I can have 10 things. There's a lot of people out there that can't have 10 things. There's a lot of people out there that are worse off than me that can't physically eat food. So I'm grateful for those 10 freaking things. Was I bored of those 10 things by month 3? Oh yeah. I'm not going to lie, but I appreciated them. So that's the shift. And that's something I wish that the healthcare system and providers, functional, Western, whoever it is, would teach you, is this crowding out theory that I learned in school. Like, let's crowd out those things you can't have with so many good things that you don't feel like you're living a life of restriction. If I could have been approached with, hey, you have this symptom with your stomach, you have this symptom with your asthma, you have these allergy symptoms, you have this pain, you aren't able to do this, and I was given something like, hey, I have these 10 amazing things that you can put in your mouth so that you can get rid of all those symptoms. It might not be today you get rid of all those symptoms, it might be tomorrow, but if I was given it and that was the approach, like, hey, I have a solution for you. Here's these 10 things you can put in your mouth and in your body, and you can get rid or mask most of those symptoms without having to take a pill. If it would have been approached to me in that sense, do you not think that I would have had a happier reaction? Like, holy crap, I get 10 things. If I put these 10 things in my life, this crap that I'm going through could dissipate. It's all looking at it from a different angle. And that's what I teach my clients. I look at it from a different angle. I am not the person that you're going to work with that's going to say, you can't have your cake and your whiskey on your birthday because no, that'll just make everything flare back up. However, I might tell you, like, let's look at that. If you have your cake and the whiskey, what's going to happen? So educating yourself and understanding how things are going to affect your body once you get to a stabilized state is really good. So like for me, if I have cake and whiskey, I know that I am going to have constipation, diarrhea, headaches, my skin's going to break out, my fatigue is going to go through the roof, my pain is going to go up. But on my birthday, I'm still going to eat cake and I'm going to wash it down with a whiskey mule. So, it's the knowledge. The knowledge is power. It's not that I'm taking away something, but I'm making a decision to be able to add things. And then after that, when I go back on this thing, it's like, hey, I get those 10 amazing things, and eating those 10 amazing things is going to make my body feel great. And I'm excited that I only get to eat 10 things instead of like, oh crap, I only get to eat 10 things. So it's that shift of like focus. It's the shift in the understanding and the knowledge of knowing what things work for you and what things don't work for you. And it's so important to understand how that fits in and to understand that's what makes me different. With chronic illness and helping people through their chronic illness and their chronic pain, I don't take things away from you. I educate you about what the things do to your body, and then I excite you about the things that do work for your body. Because life is could be a list of restrictions, or it could be a list of amazing things that you can have. And that's how we start to do things. And am I going to take it all away at once? No, because I'm never going to take anything away. I am going to help you understand what crowding out some of these things that are causing you pain and causing you heartache and causing you headaches and, affecting your relationships and your ability to be social. I'll teach you what that does for your body. But what I won't do is tell you, here's a list of restrictions, because I want you to have your cake and wash it down with whiskey if you want to. That's what it's about. It's about living your life with chronic illness, with chronic symptoms. Am I saying that if you have severe celiac or Crohn's, I'm going to say go eat a cake full of gluten that's going to make you, end up in the hospital or whatever it does for you? No. But I will help you find an alternative so that if you want your cake and your whiskey, you can have that. So like for me, I couldn't have dairy, gluten, or eggs. So for my birthday, I had a gluten-free vegan cake. Was it the same as the cake I may have had 5 years ago for my birthday? No. But was it just as good and just as much of a treat? Yes. Did it still, with the sugars, throw off other things in my body? Yes. But there's ways to find alternatives, so I don't take it away. I add in what I can add into my life, because your life shouldn't be restrictions. Just because you've been diagnosed, just because you're sitting there with hundreds of symptoms that may be diagnosed or undiagnosed, doesn't mean you have to have a restricted life. It doesn't mean you have to live by this being removed from your body. Let's shift that to be like, I'm going to live with all of these things. I get to live with having these foods. I can still be social, even though I have all these restrictions or all these things on my list that I shouldn't be having in my life. I've crowded out those things so that I can still go out. I might be going out, hanging out with my friends. I may have a salad. Do I love salads? No, I don't love salads. But going out and hanging out with my friends is about more than the food that's going in this pie hole. Because again, if I worried just about what could go in my pie hole, I would never have a social life. So I might be having a bubble water with a piece of fruit and a salad with some random lemon and salt on the salad and some oil. But that doesn't mean I'm not having fun. Just because everyone else is dipping stuff in ketchup and ranch and all those fried goodies. I like the fried goodies. And sometimes I allow myself to have them knowing the repercussions. And that's what's great, is when you finally choose to take control of your life, you can control, like, hey, today is a day, like on my birthday, I had cake and whiskey, and I knew I was going to feel like crap for 3 days after. But it was a decision I made in that moment that I was willing to sacrifice for those 10 minutes of pleasure. And knowing that and having the knowledge and having everything is powerful. Having the ability to not live by restrictions is powerful. And that's what I help people find. You deserve the power. You deserve to have the life you love. Doesn't matter if this stupid chronic illness or these chronic symptoms are trying to live their life. You can either choose to let your life be lived as your symptoms and your diagnosis, or you can choose to say, F you symptoms and diagnoses, there's the freaking door. They may be that third wheel tag along where you have to make some, sort of mold yourself so that you're able to do the things, but you don't have to give up the things. I promise you. And that's what I want for everyone, is I want it to be, hey, I am living with chronic illness. And I'm living with a crap ton of chronic illnesses and chronic symptoms and all this other stuff. But I am not going to ever let myself go back to living as my illness, because that was the most lonely, miserable, scary time of my life where I let my illnesses take control. So if you want help with that, if you want anything to do with chronic illness, trying to start shifting that focus over, I'm here for you. I am 100% here for you. I do have a free tool. That's a tool I used when I first started shifting this. It's super easy to use. It kind of starts leading you through shifting the focus in certain areas of your life so that you can start taking back your life today. So if you're living as your chronic illness, if you are afraid to do things because of your symptoms, This thing is freaking amazing, if I don't say so myself. And you can find that at jdragonette.com/freedom. I will drop the link in after this live, and it's called Diagnosed Freedom, because I want you to diagnose yourself with freedom. Freedom of living with chronic illness and still living well. So I hope you have the most amazing day. I don't want to bore you for too long, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.